maybe constructing a universe where masculinity and femininity don't matter is bad. Like maybe we shouldn't do that, right? And I have a lot of sympathy with that belief. I think that that's basically right. Maybe part of the problem is that we had this really stable system for so long, right? In pre-industrial society, for example. In pre-industrial society, they're defined by the role that they had in the family, right? Your family was your job, for example, right? So you worked within your family, and you never left it. So for example, nowadays you only live in your family to get to the point where you can leave it and join what we call the real world, right? And so the real world is the essentially non-familial world, right? The world where there's no longer any essential reason to be male or female in the real world, right? And so none of the relationships are sexed anymore, and so people are just going, well, what are we using these things for, right? We used to have all of our relationships, our whole life used to be sexed, right? You were male, female, grandpa, grandma, sister, daughter, aunt, uncle, that like all of those sexed relationships, they used to be that. And now we say, no, all of that is separate from the real world. And so then you go, okay, so what role does sex play in this real world? Right? Well, and everyone goes, I don't know, just do whatever you want, right? And that's what we've been. That's right. So that explains why you have a sexual revolution in industrial societies, right? It's not like everyone talks. Just here's a quick example. Everybody talks as though, say, feminism, right? The story of feminism was women have just been oppressed for thousands and thousands of years, and then in 1870, kaboom, they finally get the chutzpah or whatever, chutzpah together to, demand their rights or something like that. And that doesn't seem right to me at all. It just seems like what happened was around 1850, we developed a society where being male or female didn't matter, the real world, right? The employment world, right? And so the women are looking around going, well, if the real world doesn't require me to be male or female, then I want all the rights he's got. Right? I want to be able to do whatever he can do. If there's no difference between men and women in what you're calling the real world, then I want the laws to reflect that, right? And it seems to me that makes sense, right? I mean, if you're saying that the real world is one where the difference between men and women doesn't matter, then laws should perhaps reflect that. But then some of us look at that and go, well, maybe that's kind of a criticism of the real world, right? Maybe if, for all the virtues of this world that we've created, this industrial world, this industrial society, right? It when it can't recognize certain fundamental truths about who we are, there's something wrong with it. And we can't. So for the last, it seems, 150 years or so, our response has just been to say, no, the reality is that there just is no difference. Male and female just have totally equal rights. They don't have any there's no difference between them at all. It's just equality, 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 right? But it seems like we've hit a point where that isn't working anymore. If it ever did, I'm not sure that it did. I'm not sure that it ever worked. I'm not sure that it was ever good. But it does seem like there's a logic to that position that's ultimately self-refuting. Yeah.
I think that is sensed by a growing number of people, that we've now reached a kind of reductio ad absurdum, and we've gone wrong somewhere. And your answer there outlined many of the ways in which small mistakes have been made a long way back, and now we're suffering the big consequences of them.
Right. When your only answer to certain fundamental truths about your existence are they're not there, like you've got a big problem,